This is Mac from Mac's Corner, and I was looking at doing just a regular old Let's Play for Tropico, and when I was looking on the Steam forums, I discovered that a lot of people were apparently having trouble with it. And it's not clear what parts. I know the rebels are causing people a lot of problems. I believe I'm pretty good at the game. I'm not an expert by any means, and I'm sure there are other people out there with better strategies, but I wanted to go ahead and show you what I do. And hell, maybe you might see something I do and you can figure out how to do it better or give you an idea. So I'm going to do the campaign just because it is the official campaign, and the sandbox mode, as cool as it is, you can just change it so much that, you know, if it's too hard or too easy, just change the settings. It's kind of something. And then strategies I got for this we can apply. I do have a dynasty. Well, I'm going to talk over this a little bit here.
People who established dynasties so powerful that their names echo through the centuries. I'm one of them. New world, new opportunities, no limits. This island of mine could become anything. It could be a farmer's heaven, the fields reaching the horizon, and the markets full of people. Or it could be a production powerhouse with chimneys reaching the sky and docks busy with all sorts of exotic goods. Or it could be the paradise on earth, a magnet for travelers from all over the world, a place for fiesta and fun.
Sir, we're docking the ship, sir.
But now, it's just a dirt-poor piece of land in the middle of the ocean. Let's make it shine.
Alright, so you can choose which map you want to start on. The first, basically, throughout the course of the campaign, you're going to play on two separate maps. One of the campaigns is more economic focused, one is more military focused, though there's still alternate paths to each of them. But I tend to like to do this for the initial one, simply because it does lend itself for future options. One, because it's just got more agriculture and the ways to get started than this one does. And two, you can really kind of grow on one end and then create whatever you want on the other end. Whereas here, it's not that you can't do that, it's just not as easy. So I'm going to keep everything medium, occasional. So, however, you know, just because I like the medium difficulty setting. It's enough where you can have fun, but it doesn't drive you crazy. Obviously, if you're looking for something how to play on a harder setting, my advice would be maybe try the easier setting till you get good enough to move on to the harder setting. I have done stuff with the harder setting before.
The Caribbean. A lush and untamed land. My new home. Beautiful and full of promise. A new beginning, far from the politics of the old world. A chance to start fresh and do things my way. I'm tired of the musty weather and rigid thinking back home. I need a change. I was appointed governor of this island. Not that anyone else wanted the job anyway. My unique approach to government will make this colony the most prosperous in the Caribbean. How hard can it be? You just need some planks, a few nails, and a trusty advisor to shout at.
Alright. So
welcome to the Caribbean, Governor. Allow me to introduce myself, Lord Oaksworth, His Majesty's emissary to the region.
Alright, so I'm going to pause it quick while we sort of get established. I'm not going to walk through the menus and stuff. You can kind of figure it out as I play. But for those of you who are new to the series, you know, on Mac's Corner but never really played the game before, this is it's an economic simulation. I don't know. I can't even explain it. It's a parody of the 1980s quasi, I guess, is the best way to put it. But it's also a pretty interesting economic simulator. In that
You're boring me.
Yeah, too bad. So you do have a dynasty, which I'll get into that later. I'm not going to explain that right now. This is the Palace El Presidente. That's us. We're the El Presidente. And this is where we live, and this is where everybody else lives. And we develop the island kind of as we see fit. Getting started, it's usually best to do quest, and we'll walk through that, but people sometimes make mistakes by trying to do everything. So, here is kind of what I'm going to walk through quick is how I like to get started, and then kind of talk about some of the fundamental mistakes people make sort of as we play. I'll tell you that rule number one is you got to go in with some kind of strategy and have a goal in mind. One of the number one mistakes I've seen people make who play the game is they try and build everything. They try and be like a little bit of everything. And it doesn't work in the game, and the reality is it doesn't work in real life. That's what trade's about. And at the beginning, you may dream of running a production whatever or whatever you want, but it all takes money. Step one is to make money. And while making money, take care of your people without getting overthrown. So one of the neat things, as I said, look at the different plantation corn crops and check out each down to the individual person. You can click on them. You can find out their education. Like, she's college educated, so probably need to find her something better to do than work at the farm. Right now, she's just we can kill them, we can bribe them, and you'll see why we want to do that as we play along. But every individual is simulated down to personality. Another big mistake I see people make is they try and micromanage too much, and they focus too much on the little details, which if that really is your thing, I mean, go for it. But the reality is this is run best as a macro sim. It was, sort of. You'll kind of see as we play. So, we have our cornfield. We have our construction office, which can build new stuff. We have our Teamster's office, which moves all of our stuff around, and we have a few houses. We don't have enough houses for the population. They build these nice, wonderful little shacks everywhere. And our cornfield. And the people, what they need, is found out, not in the place, in the almanac. So this is your balance for your economy. This is your workforce. That's the total number of people who can work, not necessarily the total people on the island. That's the number of people on the island who can work. Happiness, this is how happy it goes from 0 to 100 for the most part. And then this is overall, which is all of this stuff. So right now the people aren't happy. And this is the average happiness in the Caribbean. Here's the thing though. Initially, our government isn't for the people, it's for the British. Or, people who pretend to be the British or whatever. A satire of the British. Here's our total population. Here's our popular support. The royalists hate us, or that's how that works, but they can't do anything about it. And eventually, this is the dynasty members that we have unassigned. This is currently who the president is. You can level these up. I actually used to have a bunch of leveled up ones on my old computer, but that was a long time ago. All right, and that's about. I'm gonna assume you probably know everything else about this, or if you're learning, you'll kind of figure it out as we go. So step one, we need money and defeat people to make us their money. And the best way that I found to do that early game is through mining. The best way to go through mining, first thing I'm going to do is go ahead, build us our library. Here's our money, by the way. I don't stress money too much early game. Because early game, they don't let you fail unless you're really messing up. And so usually you can kind of tell what these are, I think. I forgot it. They might have fixed that, actually. So what I want is I want to mine. Mining is the best way that I've observed to make money early game. Especially if you can find like a gold mine or something. I don't like to build a lot of farms because farms cause a lot of pollution. And in order to start mining, what we need to do is I need to right click. Go ahead and tell our army to explore. So I'm going to tell them to explore right here. You gotta pay money to do this though, so you can't keep doing that. Then I'll explore a little bit there and then over here, and that'll get us started. And these little things here are quest icons. And without further ado, we're going to go ahead and get started.
Greetings, old chap. Have I got a deal for you today? As Crown Representative, I can offer you your very own trading license.
Okay, this really is a no-brainer. Trading offers are guaranteed things. So what I mean by that is offers to trade. So you can. All right, I'll show it to you better than do it. But basically, $4,000 seems like a lot of money right now, but it's worth it. The reason why is we're going to come over here, go to trading. Right now we only have one ship, but you can add a ship. Or sorry, remove ship. Right now we have one out of one ship, so you can add ships to the trade thing. But here's where the offers are, and here's why it's important. We can import corn from the West India Company. So let's say we don't want to make corn ourselves because we'd rather be doing something else with it. It's cheaper to import it through the trade. I try not to import stuff early in the game, though I do like to do, if it's not part of a production chain, I will do it later in the game. And we'll get to that later. What we're looking for is what's the best thing for us to export. And we're looking at the price in units, right? So looking for 1,000 units at 1,500, whereas if we sold it normally, it would only be 1,000. That's why it's important. This is what we get for it. Default, this is what we're actually going to get for it. Right here is the quantity that they want. So once this quantity is fulfilled, they don't want anymore. So you got to be careful with it. Tobacco tends to be a really good one to do though. Cocoa's not bad at all either. Don't want to import. Logs, nah, it's not even worth the trouble. So we're looking at probably tobacco. It's going to be our starter. And try not to build too much either without, we'll get quest.
His Majesty needs money to build a new underwater palace. He wants you to begin growing money. I mean, one of those crops that make heaps of cash.
So build one plantation sugar. But the thing is, after we've built the sugar plantation, we can change it. So it's not stuck. That's the nice thing about the crops. So we're going to keep our corn right now, though, because we need the corn to feed the people. So right now we're self-sustaining with our corn. And we're going to go ahead. Build us another plantation. And he said he wanted sugar. So you look at the overlay. There we go. And the overlay is going to... there you go. New plantation.
His Majesty needs money.
Sorry about that. Plantation. Sugar. Let's place the bad boy. So you want to look at where this little red arrow icon is. And you got to keep in mind that the roads, that's where you want the road to be. So we're looking, and it's not, this red area is not great for the sugar plantation, but sometimes to keep things efficient, I don't necessarily worry about it all being in the right area. Another thing to consider before we place this is tobacco is what we had that trade offer for. So it's not a good spot for us to change it to tobacco necessarily. We don't have any sugar trade offers. But for right now, we'll go ahead and plant, because they're not expensive anyways. And we're going to plant the sugar plantation. And we're going to make a tobacco plantation. And all these are is to just help get us started. You can build an agricultural powerhouse if that really is your thing. I personally don't like to do that. Kind of messes us up for the late game. And there is limited resources on the island too. That's another reason you can't just raw resource yourself to riches forever. You got to transition it, just like the real world. Raw resources are utilized. There we go. These guys are still exploring. I'm going to keep it pretty slow paced. Unless it gets too slow, then so we can kind of mess around and explore a little bit. And I'll speed it up. Usually when I'm playing by myself, though, I'll keep it going pretty fast. So these are our construction workers. They're building the library, and I'll show you in a second why that's important. What we'll do after they explore up here, but I didn't notice this mine down here at first. I was being kind of silly. So, but we'll see what this one is, and then we'll see what this one is. Start mining. Let's go ahead and accept our trade agreement. So what we're going to do is we're going to export tobacco to the West India Company, which is going to make the crown happy, because right now that's who we work for. They're the ones keeping us in power, just like in the real world back in the day. You know, politics of developing countries. People in power owed their loyalty to other countries, not the people that they were responsible for. And that caused all sorts of, and does cause currently all sorts of problems. But it is what it is. Oh, and I show 1 second. This is Mac with Mac's Corner, and welcome to what's actually going to be a Tropico strategy playthrough as opposed to one of my more traditional Let's Plays. It can be a fast-paced game, it can be a slow-paced game, so I'm going to try and only have the video on and talking when there's something interesting happening, because frankly I don't think I could babble on non-stop for the next hours about this game. It's got interesting moments, but sometimes it's just watching stuff build. So, the reason for the video is I was looking for something to do. I was kind of on the Steam forums. I was in the mood to play this anyways for some reason, and noticed a lot of people are having trouble with the game due to rebels. This is, you know, I don't know, I guess they changed some stuff. I haven't had any issue with it, and I've been playing it semi-recently. I did start fresh, so new dynasty for the most part. Got 2 characters, but that's it. Neither one of them have leveled up. This is mission 1 in the campaign. We're going to play through the campaign, and I'm going to tell you my general strategy, what I'm going to do, and kind of every time major things happens or we see some significant growth, I'll come back and revisit it. So this is also for people, you know, for viewers of Mac's Corner who've never played the game before. I'm not going to turn this into I'm not really going to explain the game. I'm going to assume you know the game. If you do have questions, obviously please feel free to leave a comment. And if you want to see a more detailed playthrough where it's more of an introduction, where you're really getting into the nuts and bolts, I can do that. I just need to know that people would be interested in it. So quick overview to how I play this game and where I think some people, or a lot of people, make mistakes in the game. First is understanding that there are 2 islands, so you develop one now, and then in the next mission you'll develop another island, but how you develop stays on each of the islands. So as you progress through the story, you're essentially simultaneously building 2 separate islands. And so for specific reasons you don't want, that I'll get into later, you don't necessarily want to try and stay on the island forever, because, you know, there's achievements to be had and stuff like that, and other reasons. On the flip side, you don't want to transition too early, because you lose the opportunity to really get yourself into a good groove early on. Now, general strategies as well. You can actually apply real-world economic principles to this game, which I love. The other big mistake I see people make is they try to build one of everything. When I was a kid, I used to love doing that too. You know, it's like, oh, I got to build one of everything. This is one of those games where if you try and do that, you're gonna be in some trouble, because you need to focus your economy. Just like economies in the real world specialize, economies in this game need to specialize. And obviously, early on, you got to focus on raw resources you want to specialize in, because that's all you're going to have available. And as you move up, you have to have a long-term strategy on what you want to do. If you want to become a production powerhouse, then you need to pick 1 or 2 things and do that. Don't try and do it with everything. Along those lines. And it may seem simple, but a lot of people don't always understand that, so I wanted to bring it up. Another big mistake I see people make is they focus almost too much on the details. There's so many details to this game. You know, from what you can do to each individual little character, you can really micromanage this thing. And if that's your thing, by all means, go for it. But in terms of the best way to play so you can manage things in what I feel is the right manner, I manage through the almanac. And I manage through aggregated data, unless there's a problem point. Now, if there's a problem, then I'll focus on the details. But I don't try and focus on the details on everything. And this really is, as much as it's so much micromanaging type details are available, at the end of the day, it really is kind of a mega. It's still a SimCity type simulation, just with the ability to do some silly stuff at the individual level if you feel like goofing around. So, without further ado, My biggest strategy is mining. As far as I'm concerned, mining is the single best moneymaker early on in the game, because you can pay people pretty good money so that they don't quit mining. And since mining is one of the few things you make available, if they want to work, they don't have, as much as they may hate it, they don't have much of a choice. And there's just ways to really make it a good income earner. And for me, no matter what you want to do, whatever your long-term plan is, you need money to make it happen. Whatever the heck else you want to do, you need money to make it happen. Even when it comes to things, well, you need to feed the people doing the mining. Well, you're right. Then you need money to build things to feed them. So we got enough stuff going on right now. In terms of agriculture, all I'm doing, I've got the corn, which is all we need right now to sustain our current population. Got our tobacco right here. Whoop, did I pick the wrong one? Oh, did I actually do 2 tobacco plantations? Hold on. I just don't know, which isn't a big deal. I just changed the crop. All right, so should be sugar now. Yeah, there we go. So I built the sugar plantation. I'll figure out why it's doing that. I'll figure that out later. But just to fulfill this quest. And then tobacco, because the other big thing I do is, it may seem like a lot of money at the beginning, but because it gives you a lot of options, and the options are important, because if all you had was the option to, for example, sell logs, I hate logs because it cuts down your trees, and they cut down kind of quick, and they don't make you that much money, so it's not really worth it. Unless you really want to get into selling planks, yeah, it's a lot of trouble to produce something that's not making us a lot of money, is my logic on that one. So, export tobacco to West India Company. We are increasing our per unit profit by $500, or 1/3. Well, really, no, 50%. By 50% by this trading thing. So, even though we paid $4,000, if we hadn't, this may not have been available. In fact, I don't think it would have been. And we wouldn't get some, the crown wouldn't make us happy, wouldn't be happy with us, which is important because they supplement our economy. And look how quickly we're going to make that money back. 21,000 units instead of making, the two. I'm not going to do math right now, but you understand what I'm saying. 21,000 times 500, or no, 21 times 500. Anyways, there we go. Still, we make the $4,000 back pretty quick. And without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and put it on hold, get some more stuff built, and come back in a little bit. Oh, real quick though, before I do anything, I just realized. Library. I like getting this thing built quick, quick. The reason why is it gives us access to technology, which takes time, and the technology is really what's going to help us boost our economy without bringing in so many people. Excuse me, without bringing in so many people, which can cause too many people. You need people to run everything, but too many people causes problems and yada yada. But also, I make the library a priority. So, library's built. And mines are our priority, so that's what we want to get going as quickly as possible so we can start making that money. So we're going to go ahead and research that first. Expedite the research. I also make sure I hire the workers. So I've hired 2 this one was that educated one that was over here we actually messed with earlier, who doesn't need to be farming if she's got a freaking college education. And I hired 2 other ones who will be coming when they get here on the boat. So, without further ado, we also discovered we got a coal mine right here, which I don't like to use that necessarily unless I have to for the money, but it looks like I'm not going to have a choice because it makes it's much better utilized as as being used for production and other things. So I'll probably explore over here and check back in. So we completed our, build a sugar plantation mission. And it's always kind of tough which one of these to take. If you're looking for getting the achievement or something, obviously this is always a bonus, but you can't really use it for the game either. So it's kind of how you want to do it. Even if I'm going to go for that achievement, though, I tend to like to do kind of a little bit off the side or something later on. Early in the game, there's 2 critical things. The colonists will come on their own right now. In fact, I don't usually worry about regular colonists. I worry about educated colonists. So this is not that interesting to me right now. This is in the sense that I don't want to be forced out of the. Basically, you have to declare independence before the time's up, which is 3 years and 5 months right now. This extends your mandate to basically give you more time, which is also pretty darn crucial. But there's plenty of options to do this, and with this being the first quest, right now, this is where we're going to start getting, this is where we're going to get that subsidy and that help to get that initial money. You need money to make money. This is where you get it from. Alright, this is always the worst one to get, because there's no real good that comes out of it. Unless you got plenty of money, and then the 12 months mandate, it's worth the money. But this is a really bad one to get early. And this can cause problems if you do it. So I just suck it up early and do this one. Later on, I'll do this one. So, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and suck it up, I think, and do that. Oh, it sucks. Alright. So going through the air, obtaining the air, that process, stuff like this doesn't, whatever. If you get the money, you just get more troops, kind of thing. This one I think is really important. More so than things being cheaper, because the happier Tropiconians are with their job, the more likely they are to just be happy. And since pretty much everyone, you want to put as many people to work as possible, as he levels up, it'll go up more. And it can help you not to pay him as much too. So I definitely like Union Leader. I'll design this one on my own though. Alright, so we're approaching, well, it's beyond the midpoint, but this is sort of the start of the end, if that makes sense, for the colonial era, and we're pretty much where we need to be. A little bit behind schedule, but not by bad. Not bad. So we still got 1 year and 4 months left. Here is the key thing. If you look, we are mining, so we have 2 iron mines here. We have the bauxite mine here. And if you look, our mines are fully staffed. We have construction and teamster offices, right, to keep the resources going. And same thing over here with the coal, and the big one is our gold mine up here. So this serves a couple purposes. One, the mines are there; they're the best source of early game revenue in terms of raw resources. So, and you might as well exploit them as quickly as possible. No real point in waiting. They pay for themselves easily, and the construction to get everything done. The other thing it does is, by building this network of roads, we essentially now have access to the whole island. So later on, when oil becomes available, we're not going to have to worry about building up there. And the reason this is also important is, if you look, we haven't built anything for the people. Nothing. The people are still fairly miserable, and right now we don't care. Now that's going to change. Whoops, sorry. That's going to change, obviously. Right now, it's just not that important. We're researching our last thing, which is the paper month. Haven't done any edicts. We have some available. Ooh, actually, I might do this one. Possibly. I'm not sure yet. I gotta analyze that more. Okay, anything with monthly costs, I definitely don't want to do. Yeah, so none of this. Not worried about right now. It's all about the bottom line at the moment. So we look at our economy. There's a balance, revenue, expenses. Keep in mind, a lot of these expenses are building expenses. So it was initial fixed cost investment for long-term gains. So balance. All right, we're exporting 27,000. Top export is iron. Top earner res, so we're making money off of our houses. This is a big deal, because if you're making money off your houses, that means that even houses can turn profitable. Foreign aid, it's helping a little bit, so, it's not crucial. Same from here. Expenses, if you look, building budgets, but our big one is construction, and this is when we had to pay the crown. We had to pay the crown again for something. So our teamsters are the most expensive thing, but they're also the foundation of keeping our economy going. And the big deal right now is because of how they're spread out. You don't want to have them too close, because that's inefficient. But you don't want to have them all centralized either. You got them spread out. And now, as we grow around the island, that cost isn't really going to go up. And it's basically establishing the infrastructure now for moving on later in the game as more options become available. Why it is important to do now is they have it set up so money's always an issue in a lot of ways. You start making too much money and they just, events start happening to take it away. So you want to get as much as your just basic infrastructure as you can done now, and you can't really rebel against you and that kind of stuff. Building another dock up here near the gold mine. A couple reasons for getting that done early. Put the fort up here just in case I do need something rapid up here. And it's near the gold mine, so I don't want that shutting down on me no matter what. The dock is to make... This is going to become our most profitable thing. And I don't want... Obviously, I want to speed that, so I want quick access to the dock. It's also why I am building these houses here, so the workers have a place to live. And I'll probably build like another kind of little mini section over here over time. But that's where we're at right now. As you can see, didn't do a lot of crops. People are still eating. They're not happy with their food. But once again, right now we're not worried about them being happy with their food. Added the lighthouse. I forgot to do that early in the game. That just gives you more trade options. It's definitely a good build. But not too early. You don't want to waste money on it. And that's where we're at. And check back in a little bit. Oh, and I totally forgot. So the next steps. I forgot the next steps. Now we've got consistent money coming in. Now we can start worrying about making the people happy. Because this is all profit now. We're not having to make major infrastructure investments in terms of Teamsters, in terms of roads, in terms of mines. We have the single most important thing is we have a positive cash flow that should be coming in on a fairly regular basis. And we can do that internally without depending on the randomness and everything and negotiating with the foreign aid. So now we can start really working on some of these quests and then now work on trying to make the people happy. So that's the next step. I forgot. Alright, looks like we're undergoing an earthquake.
The earthquake
Let's see
is
how
over.
bad it is.
We made it. I am now going to rethink my life and the choices I have made.
Well, it
Done.
stinks.
Now, let's evaluate the damage.
Actually, come to think about it, I think we made more money than we lost. Okay, so let me repair everything, but actually that went in our favor, oddly enough. They'll come back. The citizens will always come back. Alright, so we're probably going to go ahead and do it soon. I got to do a quick look around. But so if you look, we can basically do a revolution whenever we're ready to. And I didn't even try. Just doing different stuff. My mandate kept getting extended, like really at no cost to us at all. Plenty of time to do this when I'm ready. You said you don't want to wait too long either, just for lots of different reasons. But you want to keep your options open. 16,000, so we got plenty of money sitting in the bank. Plenty of years left on our mandate to do what we want to do. Got church built, roaster built. We built some more houses, and here's kind of the key thing I've done now too, is I built a few more houses. So, plantation, now we got pineapple, moved some ranches up here, and that's another reason why you want to extend these roads out. You don't want all that pollution, ranches cause pollution especially. You just don't want that around here, because this is going to, you want to turn this into your population center, or basically your commercial sector, for lack of a better word. And maybe we'll turn this into tourism. Now I'm gonna have this be kind of like the nasty part, I guess. Depending on what we're doing. Later on, we can import food. Right now, there's no need to, with how cheap everything is. The one thing I did do is, can't do that yet. I did issue the no free lunch edict. It hurts your support a little bit, but man, it saves you money. Especially like the larger the population gets, it saves you a ton of money. The longer you go on. And as crass as it sounds, is only a video game, and quite frankly, the people who... Yeah, it gets rid of people who are just kind of a drain on the economy. I'm not saying you do that in real life, but it is a video game. You do gotta watch it. Some revolutionaries can come in, but as long as you're keeping most of the people happy, you'll be good to go. So population of 181, let's go to Almanac. So here's our balance, revenue, expenses. So if you look, we're bringing in some good money for this early in the game. I need to mess around and assign these two managers. Happiness for this stage in the game, that's actually pretty good. This is a product of the happier people are, they tend to not be, well, you can look at it. So military fort, that's bringing it up a little bit. All this stuff brings the buildings down. So yes, we've got a lot of stuff that's bringing crime down. But at this stage in the game, it's not too crucial. What else was it? Especially, this is something we got to worry about later as we urbanize than right now. Entertainment. We got the tavern. It's something. It ain't much, but it's something. And the cool thing is it's making us a profit. It's not even costing us money. What else? Let's see. Take too long. This food. Hey, they got to pay for their food, right? Guess what? We gave them some variety. We got the grocers, so the grocers are servicing the population, so I'm having to go to each individual thing. Corn, cattle, and I like some other ranches probably too. I'll make some more ranches. So as you can see, variety. That's what really makes the happiness go up too, is having a variety of stuff. Healthcare, I'm not going to worry about that right now. That's a drain in the economy that's not worth fixing. This is the big one we can work on. I worked on it a little bit, but this one I save until we can start building more dense. So this is the big one. We're keeping everybody employed. Maybe not the highest paying jobs on the planet, but employed. Liberty, I don't mess with liberty too much. Yeah, see? That's why you don't want to build a whole ton of... It's kind of like one of those things. The more military... This is where I think a lot of people make mistakes. They think, oh, I want to, make sure everything's secure, so you run around building... But it's like 2 steps forward, 1 step back every time you try and do that, because it drains your liberty. So you just got to keep an eye on that. Newspaper and library helps. So those are big buildings that are good to get built. And religion, we've got the, for this stage of the game, these are pretty good numbers, and we're in the black, which is what that means. In case you don't know, that means we're profitable. All right, the revolutionaries love us. Crown, and we've done all this without even really pissing the crown off too much, which is good because I think it lowers the amount of money you got to pay to leave if you don't do it violently. And the goal is to not try and do a violent overthrow. You can help it. And then, let's see, I think that's all there really is to show you. Over here, look at a resource overview. Here's produced, consumed, exported. There you go. So where's our gold? Let's see, price per 1,000. So we're making the gold's a nice money maker in theory, but it's that expected revenue of -243. That's kind of interesting. I'll have to dig into that, figure out what's going on. But it helped us with a quest no matter what. Oh, that's right. I think we were exporting it, but I don't know if we were making money off of it because of a quest. Anyways, so there you have it. And if I see anything else, so entertainment profits, we're making profit. That's the key. One of the key things. So this is what I was trying to remember. A lot of people, and this is where they make the mistake, trying to micromanage. They go through and they start messing around with these little things, and they start saying, well, this building I'm going to pay this much, this building I'm going to pay this much. I'm just telling you, the more you, excuse my language, dick around with this, the more it just screws everything up. Because there's already, each building's already got its own kind of cost to it, and it is based off the education level, and the complexity of the work, and I just don't mess with it. And it always seems to work out fine with me. And every time I've tried to mess with it, to do something, it always snowballs. Well, you increase to here, so then you got to tweak something here, and the next thing you know, your economy's in a wreck. I did all of that without even messing with the budget. Without further ado, I'm going to move on and come back. There's something worthwhile to talk about. So one other thing is I think I'm getting ready to go ahead and declare there's just, without upgrading what we can build, there's just not much we can do. Oh, here, let me rephrase that. So, what you will notice, I did build a lot of stuff, but I didn't build everything. I still need to build ranches, right? But I'm only going to build ranches that are going to increase variety for food. I'm not going to do a wool ranch, for example, or a ranch that supplies wool. And plantations. I went ahead and made plantations that increase food variety, but I got rid of all of our cash crops. So we no longer have cash crops. Mining is our moneymaker. The mining for this stage supplements everything else I do. I did make a wharf, or did I not? Okay, so one thing I did forget too is usually make a wharf, go catch some fish. Once again, you will export it, but it's more just to increase food variety, not.
The revolution needs the people's support, and for some reason I do not understand. The people want religion. You should give it to them.
Okay, well, I think we've already done that. So sure.
Thanks to your efforts.
Wow,
the
that was
revolutionary movement is growing stronger.
All right. So let me finish building those ranches and stuff, and then we'll be back. Okay, so it is about that time. I probably could have and should have done this a little bit earlier, but and actually maybe a lot earlier. But I just wanted to make sure I didn't forget anything and was looking around. I wouldn't say I was tweaking stuff, but just looking around a little bit. And how you know that where you need to be is when you're looking at what you can build and you go, well, there's nothing here I want to build. So on top of what we discussed earlier, you'll notice I didn't build a logging camp. You know why? I'm not going to go through the lumber mill process. I really, as soon as you build it, it chops down the trees anyways, which trees help it look pretty. So, and they don't even bring you a lot of money. So why am I going to mess with the forest when there's so many other options? Can't do anything with industry but the lumber mill, and for the reasons I said, why all that trouble to mass produce planks and they're really not worth that much when we just mine it? Mine. Built some houses, not a lot. There's just not a need to at this point. I did build a tavern, as I showed earlier. Didn't touch an opera house. It's for rich citizens and tourists. Well, we don't have a lot of rich citizens right now, except for us. I guess we're technically okay. Did build a mission. Did build a grocery. Did build a newspaper. Library. I said that was one of the first things we built. Oh, and yep. Yeah, we're good. Library is one of the first things we built. So let's go ahead and declare our independence. And here's the beauty of this. See, at this point in the game, for a lot of people, I've noticed
Presidente.
They seem to think 10,000 is like a lot of money, but in a lot of ways, it's not.
The island is ripe for revolution.
Not when you're focused on earning money right now. So proclaim
His
independence.
Majesty is most amused by your declaration of independence.
Why spend all that money fighting a war when... So this is when industry becomes available. This is a cool part of the game. We'll kind of get into that shortly. Alright, so voting rights. Okay, so this is where it can get interesting. You don't want to alienate half your population. This seems great until you realize you piss off a lot of people. Now, the part with this is you can make people fairly rich, and the rich don't always like it. But as a general idea, let all citizens vote. Now, here's the thing. It's going to make it harder to win elections, but if you're playing right, or well, I shouldn't say right. There's no right way to play Tropico. If you're playing following this kind of guide, this shouldn't be an issue unless we really jack up. So all citizens vote, and we're going to need to do what we can to make the citizens happy. Religion and state. This one... I don't... Let me put it this way. It's a gameism. So, one of the biggest groups in the game is the church. And it's always tough. This is always a bad idea. It seems like great, less religious people appear, but the ones who are there, they freaking are out to murder you. And religious buildings, lowering crime, that's pretty helpful. It just is. So I typically do this one or this one, but for this process, we're going to go ahead and do a theocracy. As I said, this does not reflect necessarily my real world beliefs. Armed forces. Alright. We're not super rich. We're not going to maintain a professional... Well, no, we're planning to be super rich, but the strategy we're going to use is we don't want a professional army. Keep in mind, you can change this stuff as time goes on, too. That's not free. This one can be useful, but I just go with conscription. I like not having to have educated soldiers, just because it helps. Getting the educated citizens at the right place is one of the most important, but can also be one of the most expensive parts of the game. So, stick with conscription, and... Whoa.
Dear Presidente, next time you amend our constitution, could you please add in a bit where everyone is obliged to spend at least half their salary at the Jolly Roger? That would be a progressive law if ever there was one. Thank you in advance, glorious ruler.
And as you notice, we come into this having already researched all this stuff. So this one's going to be a big one. And we'll get into that later. We're not going to talk about it now. But embassy for the World Wars. Number one goal is, even though you want to kind of take advantage of it a little bit, you don't want to piss anybody off. So check in a bit. I misspoke. It is important, but number one priority is actually researching the power plant, because there's all these new modern buildings we're going to be trying to build. If they can't be powered, they're going to be pretty useless. So yeah, just head.
Order needs you to earn the U.S. President's friendship. Your friend Penultimo could probably help. He knows how to get under a person's skin in no time.
Alright, so this is basically Mission 2, but this is that second island we were talking about. So, it's 2 islands that throughout the course of the game you go back and forth on, but what you do stays in effect, as we discussed. So, the reason I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this island right now is the initial strategy really doesn't change. It doesn't change pretty much at all. So, what I'm going to do for the next episode of this is probably start. So, this is going to conclude episode 1 of this strategy guide. Any suggestions that anybody has, if you see any key critical weaknesses, you think I'm doing wrong, by all means bring them up. But for me, I believe it's a great way to start. Really, the strategy, as long as the resources are there, are a great way to start any Tropico game. And set you up for success. During this little line with this island, it's a little bit more military oriented, but once again, money talks. So if you're making money, you got options. Without further ado, hope you enjoy it. I'll get another episode posted again, and I'm also going to be Vampire Bloodlines, a little bit off topic, but I know people are really excited and anxious to see that next episode. I'll probably be working on that one tomorrow. And without further ado, Mac out.